Just a quick content warning. This talk mentions pornography and child pornography in the 5th part. Anyway, this is a story of JSBin. I've given one talk before about JSBin and how it went from PHP to Node. It was a cool story, and I was high-fiving myself, fish thing. This is the B-side. This is the bad stories. And everything I share with you today, JSBin is the longest-running live pastebin. It's not going anywhere, and it will continue to serve its users, including the scumbags. So I've broken this up into 5 sections, just to touch on each kind of area that kind of focuses into. So denial of service, different types of spam that I found on JSBin, havoc from my own registered users, the costs of running JSBin, and a few incidents that, with the police. So just a very brief backstory. JSBin originally was a 4-hour PHP hack. It was out of my bedroom office, and it was 2008, September 2008 it was released. It was the first to suffer any real abuse. I know JS Fiddle has suffered quite a bit of abuse in the last couple of years. I'm not sure if CodePen has so much in terms of kind of websites in the same space. So this is not a particularly happy story. It's left me with a bit of a toxic taste in my mouth for the open source project. Please bear in mind I am the sole sysadmin for this project. My knowledge is limited. There are no big load balancer servers. My pockets are not infinitely deep with cache. There's no Sentinel machines. It's just me. So, denial of service. So this is what denial of service looks like for JSBin. And there's different forms. Like, they're not generally trying to attack JSBin, the users, but this is what happens when Node goes down and Nginx is at the front. You get to see this page. And like I said, there's different types of attacks that I've seen, and one of the popular ones is the self-attack by the morons. So script kiddies are basically taking their copy and paste HTML and JavaScript, and they put it into JSBin. And the idea is you point it to a domain like JSConf, and you hit go, and it launches like 1,000 XHR requests or 1,000 image requests, and it just all attacks at once. The only problem is, being script kiddies, they've copied and pasted, they haven't really thought about what they're doing, so they forget to type http://JSBin, JSConf.us, and they type just JSConf.us. There's no validation. They hit go, and it attacks http jsbin.com/URL/JSConf.us, goes through the full subsystem of JSBin, looking for the bin with that name, and it comes back saying, no, it's not here. And they just hammer the shit out of JSBin. And I end up with this, which is cool. And generally, I mean, I'm based in the UK. Most of my script kiddie friends are in the US, so I tend to wake up to this. So Twitter being a metric for how cool your product is, it is JSBin's down. Are you aware there's a SCSS problem? 504 errors, just over and over again. Now, some of this actually comes from the status page. So they're just kind of clicking on the link, and it says, tweet me if you think it's down. So this is the kind of love I get in Twitter, which kind of sucks to wake up to this first thing in the morning. And I do have runbooks for this kind of thing. So I use CloudWatch on AWS to tell me when the CPU is high. But when it's happening a lot, it's kind of like the alert that you just eventually just ignore. You're like, yeah, it's high again. And one night it got so bad that, so what I normally do is I go, the runbook tells me to look at the Nginx logs and take the last 200 lines and find me the unique IPs and give me a count of those IPs. And if there's normally one that has 300 requests in the last couple of seconds, and the rest are all normal numbers. So I'll just IP table block that IP. And then one evening, it was just going bananas, and I was just getting constantly different IP addresses turning up in this big range of kind of requests. So I was like, it's 10 p.m. I have kids, so that's kind of my bedtime. And so I wrote a cron job that would just repeatedly look at the logs and just keep IP table blacklisting these IP addresses. And headed off to bed, kind of like, this will be all right. And woke up to pretty much everyone using JSBin has been blocked. But the server was fine again, which is good. Yeah, so I got rid of the cron job, and yeah, a lot of people kind of got hit in the crossfire. It did calm down. I don't know what caused it, but I eventually discovered fail to ban. And I found this about 2 years ago now, I think. So fail to ban basically does the same kind of thing, but is a little bit more intelligent about it. So it'll jail the IP address for 5 minutes and stop them from basically hitting the node server, which is good. The only problem is it then catches workshops, and like when teachers are teaching students in a workshop, they're all coming from the same IP address, and they get hit by this fail to ban. So like people trying to learn inside of a classroom environment get caught by this thing I've had to create. I can whitelist people, but they have to know that they've been blacklisted in the first place automatically. And I've had people send me tweets just like, JSBin is shit, it's down. I'm like, I get a sense that you're all coming from the same classroom. Maybe start with, is there a problem with JSBin, rather than just saying it's shit. And then I whitelist them, and they're less angry at me. So yeah, that's one of the fun bits of JSBin. Who doesn't love a filthy amount of spam in their products? So JSBin, what it is exactly is a website that people can anonymously create anything they want. So yeah, it's basically, I was asking for trouble, all right? So JSBin as of, I say April 2015. Yeah, as of April 2015 this year, had well over 15 million bins. And I looked at it a few minutes ago, actually. There's 21 million in there now. And it crossed 10 million bins in 2014. So it took like 5 years or 6 years to get to 10 million, but it got to 15 million a year later. So I should have twigged that something was up, like having gotten 50% more content in the database in a year. And I mean, maybe that's growth hacking, but I don't think it is. Yeah, there's definitely spam going on. So I have different types of spam, lots of different types of spam. I have like affiliate spam, SEO spam. I'm just going to talk about a couple of them. Phishing was the real first kind of abuse that I ever found in JSBin. And if you actually look at the source code for JSBin in GitHub, you'll see that the config says it's blocking habbo.com. So someone had taken the login page for habbo.com, put it on JSBin. So if anyone remembers habbo.com, it's like an isomorphic game from, I don't know, mid-2000s, something like that. And they put the login page there, so I got an email saying someone's phishing the logins, even though like it says JSBin in the URL. You'd think that people would see this, but apparently they don't. And the code today that's in JSBin, it currently blacklists habbo.com and I think the processform.cgi, like that old thing for capturing data. And there's simple blacklisting tech inside of JSBin. I have a private config that's not in GitHub that blocks a whole load of things. Things like ClickBank and random bits of nasty code. Kim Kardashian, spelt wrong, consistently wrong, Kardashian, something like that. There's a lot of spam with her name in it. But it's a whack-a-mole situation. Like you blacklist one thing and then they tweak the spam a bit more and it just starts appearing again. The biggest kind of spam, the biggest problem actually turned out to be link hiding. So this would be where I want to get you to my arshat website. So I run arshat.com and I sell bad stuff. And I put the links out on social media networks like Twitter and Facebook, and you end up going to this website, you're like, oh no, it's bad. So Twitter and Facebook get savvy to this, and they block any links to arshat.com. So, like, okay, you know what, I'm going to put it inside of Bitly, and I'm going to put a Bitly link inside of Twitter.com, and you'll bounce and hit Bitly and go off to arshat.com. But now Twitter are following redirects, so they can trace the redirect down and see that I'm still linking through to arshat.com. So they take JSBin and they do window.top location or window.location equals arshat.com. and they put JSBin in Twitter, and there's no header redirect, so you get redirected off to the bad website. And there are 100 different ways to do a redirect in JavaScript. It's like, window.location equals top.location equals top square bracket LOC plus location. I can't blacklist it. It's just impossible. Short of, I don't know how. There's no way of blacklisting it at all. To the point where eventually Facebook were just like, yep, we blocked JSBin. So I was reading blog posts about how JSBin was being used for some React demos, having known that JSBin's completely blocked in, those posts were coming out of Facebook, having Facebook blocking JSBin at the same time. They've stopped blocking JSBin, but yeah, basically it was being abused. So, and the thing is with the redirect, it doesn't happen when you're inside of the JSBin window, it only happens when you get rid of the editor. So, I had to limit the ability to create anonymous bins, what it does. So if you are not signed into JSBin, when you look at the full output, it can still do that redirect, but it'll only do it for 90 minutes after your last save. So when they put those links into Twitter or Facebook, eventually they expire this 90 minutes, and it goes inside of the JSBin editor, and the redirect doesn't work because it's in an iframe that has a sandbox property that doesn't allow you to do a redirect. But it means now that I've limited this anonymous functionality and the free functionality that I offered to users because of people just abusing JSBin. But at least I kind of solved that problem, and the anonymous users abuse kind of went down. So they registered instead. So yeah, originally JSBin, the very first version had no sign-in, no concept of accounts or anything like that. It was 100% anonymous. I wanted it to be, I tried for a very long time to keep it like that, and I didn't want user accounts. I thought it was cool that you could just kind of go up there, do a thing, and walk away from it, and it was lost forever. And that lost forever was a problem because eventually people were coming back saying, yeah, I made like 30 bins on JSBin, and where are they? How do I get them back? Like, there's no user accounts. Like, yeah, no, I want them back though. I want to be able to find them again. So there was a complete refactor from PHP to Node. In that refactor, version 3 got very clean, but we also added user accounts, registration, password reminder, so you can actually get those bins back. There's just one flaw. There were 0 checks on the account. I don't like captchas, so I didn't put one there. And I don't like the email authentication loop, so I didn't put that there either. Which means that you can literally just say, my username is A. In fact, actually, we have a user with the username space. So you can have a space for your username, and your password can be a space if you choose your password to be a space. So yeah, my registrations went up. Unbeknownst to me. Yeah, my users were going up, and I hadn't noticed, basically, until this day. So this is the day that everything ground to almost a 100% halt. So it's March 2015 this year. I'm solo parenting. My wife, my daughter had been born earlier on that year. Yeah, she's like almost 1 at this point. My wife has never gone out by herself. Like, this is the first time that she's gone out but for the day. So I'm babysitting, I'm solo parenting for the day for the first time since she gave birth to our daughter. So it's a big deal to her that I don't kind of go, yeah, can you come back because JSBin's broken? So yeah, that morning I woke up and people were sending me tweets as they do about JSBin. It was, something's odd. It wasn't the 504s, but something was off. It wasn't quite working the way they wanted it to. Saving didn't seem to work. And I had a chance to have a look at it, and I mentioned the bins had gone up. They'd gone up from 10 million to 15 million at quite a rate. And storage is pretty cheap, right? So JSBin's database is completely isolated on one EBS drive. And it's 100 gig, and all it stores is text, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and a bit of metadata. That 100 gig had all gone, completely empty. And I managed to jump on the server and try and delete some rows of data. But in writing an SQL query to delete rows of data, it needs to like create a temporary table to be able to work out what rows to delete. By the time I deleted rows, more data came in, filling the remaining space until I had 0 bytes left. I couldn't run the query to delete rows from the database. I ran out of space entirely. There were 0 bytes left. And the thing is, it was like, I'm solo parenting, and I feel this responsibility to JSBin and the users who aren't paying me for it. Like, it's just a service that's there. And you just have to, well, I just had to basically say, okay, close laptop. It's not going to fix itself, but it will have to stay broken. And JSBin would still load. Like, you could still bring things up and see your data. You just couldn't save anything. And I just had to focus on my kids until my wife came home. Where I was like, oh, fuck, can I just quickly grab the computer and increase the disk space from 100 gig to 400 gig. I did manage to get a GitHub issue up saying, please help, describe the situation, but the bottom line is, like, the actual drive on AWS had to be changed. And no one could do that for me. No amount of debugging would have fixed that problem. So I upgraded to a 400 gig drive. That's enough space for a while, right? I've got another year until this happens again. But the downside is I had to close the free sign-in process. So I had register with your email address and password or use GitHub. And now you can only use GitHub to get into JSBin, which is totally reasonable for this kind of audience. Like, I'm sure most of you have a GitHub account, and it's not a problem just to click the button and you're in. But a classroom full of students or kids, they won't have a GitHub account, and I've closed the door on them now, which kind of bums me out because it was supposed to be free, but making it completely anonymous is ultimately a stupid idea. Like, it ends up getting abused and this kind of thing happening, basically. So in 2014, I was doing a lot of traveling and going to a lot of conferences. I think I was here. What year is it? 2015? 2013? No, 2013. 2013, I was doing traveling, and I was here. And I spoke to other people during the conference and other conferences, and had a lot of people saying, how do I give you money for JSBin? I was like, no, JSBin's free, I don't want money. This is stupid, by the way. If people say you want to give you money, you take money, and yeah. Up to that point, I've been working on it since 2008, entirely all my development. A friend of mine, Danny Hope, had been doing the UX on the website since 2009. And the more people I met that said they wanted to somehow support the project, I realized that there was an opportunity to try and add pro feed, like a pro account, and try and make it self-sustaining. So the beginning of 2014, I hired 2 developers to work full-time on JSBin, and then added myself to work on JSBin full-time. And I would create the pro offering of JSBin. So the end of, it launched in May 2014, or May, July, or some middle of the year. And the income from the pro subscriptions just about covers the operating costs of the servers. So I am not doing Scrooge McDuck nosedives into piles of cash. And if anyone doesn't know who that is, go Google it. You can watch some Scrooge McDuck. But the upside is, before Pro, JSBin was making 100% loss. Now it's just not making 100% loss. I'm just not making any good money from it. So that's kind of good. There was also a huge cost to taking money through something called VATMOS, which I can rant about for ages, which is why I've taken it out of this talk. But it's a European legislation thing, which I'll happily talk to anyone about it in the bar for about an hour, because it makes me angry. But there were other costs to JSBin. Like, it turns out I actually created a website for testing stolen credit cards. Didn't realize, but yeah. Because the pro accounts were initially so cheap, it meant that you could take a stolen credit card and test that stolen credit card in JSBin. Because the cost is so low, it doesn't set up a red flag. If it goes through, like, yeah, I've got a stolen card that works, so I can go ahead and use it for more transactions. Yeah, so JSBin being used as a test bed for stolen credit cards, I would be like, yay, new pro user, and they'd be like, yay, this card works, go and buy a TV. And then eventually, the owner of the card would work out what's this JSBin thing on my account. I mean, they should probably support the TV, but they get in touch with their bank and they say, I didn't buy this, I would like it kind of refunded, and they have protection. So the bank gets in touch with Stripe, and Stripe say, we have a dispute on this account. And I look at the account, I'm like, oh yeah, they made like one bin. Yeah, that looks like it's stolen. Here's your money back. Like, no. We need the money back, and because you lost the dispute, you're going to have to pay £15.34. So for the refund, to test a stolen card and be successful, it cost me £21. So I don't know, like $28, $20, $30, something dollars. But like money, it costing me money for people to test their credit cards and succeed at stolen credit cards. So that's not a business, but it's like a negative business there, right? And Stripe's pretty good at catching some of this stuff, but still there are some stolen cards that get through, basically, and there's no avoiding it. So I have a new process, which is every single pro user that comes through, and it's not a lot. Like there's one every day or every other day, and I go in and I look at their account, and if they have some bins with like React or Angular or whatever they choose to do, I'm like, okay, that seems legit. And I got one recently. I think their username was like anti-security, and there was one bin which was just, it was obviously, I think it was like a script kiddie style thing. And I looked at the credit card. The credit card was from Russia, but they were based in America. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to refund you and mark that as possibly fraudulent. And I didn't get fined. So yeah, caught one stolen credit card. Yay me. Yeah. So when I was meeting these people saying, like, we want to give you money, like, do you have a pro thing or a donation thing or anything like that, I ran some numbers on the database, looked at the registered users. I factored in like 20% idle spam users, having not thought about when they're going to come and attack and just start registering by bananas, going nuts on registrations. But I figured I would aim for 1% conversion rate. If I get 1% of users to go pro, then this would make the project self-sustaining enough that I could put at least a full-time developer on it, and I could then kind of get income from client work at the same time. That's all I did, though. There was no business plan beyond that. There was no development plan. There was no marketing plan. There were no deadlines, and there were no aims really beyond that. I just kind of looked at it and went, what could we offer for pro? Like a couple of private things, and there wasn't a great deal more. I mean, we looked at Teams briefly, and we kind of ended up going down the wrong path and ditched a month's worth of work and kind of backed up to just try and go for simple and get something that was launched. And it got to the point where I was chasing the end of the rainbow. Like I was trying to get that last 5% done, and all this work was done. I was ready for pro, but I just wanted to polish off the last little bits of work, and it took well over a month just to get to that point where I was happy to kind of turn it on and say, yes, we can start taking money. And it seemed to drag on, and all the time that I'm investing full-time in JSBin, and I'm putting my own money into paying my developers as well, it meant that my company wasn't making any money from consultancy. So it was basically just money out and no money in. So eventually, JSBin went pro July 23rd. We had 42 upgrades in the first week, 26 were on the first day. Like I said, I was hardly doing kind of nosedives into cash. I was very pleased, but those numbers are actually reasonably low. So the bottom line is, there was no plan at all. If I'd had some kind of business development plan, I think things would have gone differently. I mean, JSPin gets a decent amount of traffic. There's still something that's monetizable there. I just don't know what it is. Once it had gone live, as soon as I would think about new features or significant changes to JSPin, it had to be justified. Like, I couldn't do that work without, if it couldn't justify the cost of the work on JSPin, then I couldn't do it. Because did it get me more like paying users? Did it just add cost to the server? It kind of left me feeling like I didn't like kind of being tied to JSPin in this way. It wasn't fun anymore, basically. And one of the other biggest problems I had was that JSPin gave everything away for free to start off with. Like we had, when CodePen launched, we had 4 of their 6 pro features as free and open source features in JSPin, like live reload and codecasting. All that stuff is free. It still is free. But I pay for my GitHub account because I need private repos. I pay for my Google account because I needed the space. I pay for Dropbox because I needed the space. As soon as I put the word need in the sentence, I realized that I'm willing to hand over money. And with JSPin, I couldn't even say I needed anything that was offered by the pro features. So if I can't get to the point where I need something in JSPin, I found it hard to see why people would just start throwing money at me. So as much as giving everything away for free is honorable, it doesn't pay the mortgage at all, which kind of sucked. So JSPin sucked some of the life out of me. The VATMOS, actually, the thing that I didn't talk about is probably the one thing that made me consider quitting entirely. The police interactions I've had have been a mix of emotions. And over the years, I've had kind of a decent share of cease and desist emails, either kind of stolen content put on JSPin, or I actually had someone recently saying someone had posted up all their personal details on JSPin. Which I take down immediately. As soon as someone tells me something's breaking the law, or even like that kind of stuff that is, I don't know. Anyway, I take it down. So that isn't my phone, by the way. I don't know why I'm pointing that, but so yeah, early 2010, I've been doing a lot of client work. And it was in the evening, like 7 or 8 p.m., and the phone rings. And Julie, my wife, took the call, and she comes find me. She came and find me. I think I might have been on the throne. And she's like, you need to take this. It's the police. I was like, okay, why are the police phoning me? Like on my phone rather than, I don't know how people communicate with the police. But anyway, yeah, so the police officer I spoke to, he was like, so people are using JSPin to coordinate attack on, I think it was a bank. And they're using JSPin, they're planning to attack like a denial of service, this bank in a couple of days. And because he's English, he was like, could you possibly, maybe, if you could possibly take those bins down if it was possible? Because I'm English, I was like, I'm sorry, yep, I can. But he understood what JSPin was. He didn't say, like, take the whole thing down. He'd actually taken the time to look at what JSPin was, and he could see that I should be able to possibly take down those bins, which I did immediately. Like, it was totally cool. I didn't hear from him again, but it kind of bummed me out that like these people are using JSPin as the place to share the web page. They could just email each other a web page and attack a bank. So yeah, it's true, right? So this is the worst email I ever received. I got an email from the Spanish police. It was a sort of cease and desist. It included 2 links to JSPin asking for immediate takedown. And I'd had issues in the past where pornography had been put on JSPin. I tried to block it with the blacklist and so on. But the email from the Spanish police didn't tell me what was behind the links, and I have to check them before I actually just delete them. So I clicked on one of the links, starts loading, and very quickly I realized that actually what I was about to see was child pornography. I didn't get to see what I'd never want to see, and obviously, it's terrible for the people involved. It was harrowing. It was really horrible. I closed the browser fast enough, and what I did was curl the URLs down and look for commonalities between those two, between the two sources, and found a website where I could see the website that the images were being hosted on, and just immediately deleted everything in the database, put it in a blacklist, destroyed everything in the database that was that had that in there, and actually, from doing the research for this, I deleted all the emails to do with this, and I just did not want to ever think about it again. It was like the worst, because I'm building this thing to help people, and eventually, like the worst thing turns up on this website that you've crafted, and yeah, absolutely the worst. So on a lighter note, terrorism. This was a bin that was an issue that was raised on JSBin. JSBin is being used for terrorism. I was like, okay, cool. I've made my way into all the way up to that. And it was being used, JSBin was being used to attack the Madison police website, apparently organized by these guys. And I took down the bin straight away as requested. I then did find the original source of the tweet that had the bin in it, and it was 10 days before the issue was raised. So whatever happened had been done and dusted. I did put out a tweet saying that JSBin is open source, so if Anonymous want to actually clone their own copy, they should go ahead. Save me from being, the single point of failure for some of those attacks. So yeah, that was fun. And I've tried to kind of end each section with, like, this is how I would make it better. And the problem with this is that, like, I don't know. I don't have a parting advice for how to, like, deal with the absolute worst shit that kind of comes down. Obviously, JSBin is open for all. That includes kids wanting to learn, but also includes people wanting to absolutely destroy things on the web as well. But in going through all of this, I was worried that I'd have this really bitter tale. Sure, it's not kind of a happy kind of like woohoo at the end. But in kind of like writing out this talk, and I end up putting like a 6,000 word blog post together. Ended up being a really cathartic process. I got a lot of the poison out my blood. I felt like I kind of cleaned it out and got it off my chest and shared some of the stories. And since kind of getting this all down on paper, as it were, I've since gone back to JSBin and added new features, added HTTPS to giving it away for free for everyone, added another pro user feature, looking at things like service workers on JSBin, and trying to kind of find that love again in the project. And it's not my full-time focus anymore. It's gone back to side project. It's not going anywhere, but I'm starting to find the love again. I have a bunch of stickers over there if people want them. I don't want to go back to the UK with them, please. And I'm done.